Today we're going to review the JSAUX RGB Dock. Model is HB0801. This dock sets itself as different from the rest out there on the market with one simple feature. It has an adjustable stand. This means that you can fit things like the Steam Deck, the ROG Ally, Aya Neo, and pretty much any other handheld out there in the market right now. The adjustable range is about 28 millimeters or 1.11 inches, so hopefully it should fit even your extra thick skins and cases. Once you plug in power, you will start seeing a rainbow effect by default, but this is customizable with a software called OpenRGB. You can also press down on the top center of the dock for a couple of seconds and it will turn off the RGB. Touch it again to turn it back on. Looking at the back on the very left, we have the port from the dock that will connect to the handheld, which has an interesting right angle. More on this later. Then we have a USB-C connection for other devices like an external SSD for additional storage, but keep in mind that this port is limited to 5 gigabits per second. Moving on, we have the HDMI port, followed by the Gigabit Ethernet, 2 USB 3.2 ports, and the USB-C connector for power delivery, which supports up to a 100-watt charger. And then on the other side, they added a USB 2.0 port, which is great for your wireless dongles or transceivers for your keyboard and mouse. And I want to take a moment to talk about the build quality itself. The dock is very compact and lightweight, being perfect for traveling or just being on the go for your favorite handheld device. However, being lightweight doesn't come without its questions in durability. The dock's outer shell is black plastic, and the adjustable stand feels a bit flimsy. It doesn't slide out or slide in evenly all the time, so I'm just a little concerned I might break it at some point. So just be careful when you're positioning your handheld device into it. Now that we've talked about what features there are, let's go into my experience with it. First, I'll just say I've not really had any major issues with it. The dock properly sits where it's not blocking the air intake very much on a Steam Deck, which was an issue in the past with other JSAUX docks. The USB ports aren't entirely sandwiched together on the back either, so I was able to fit a fatter flash drive and a wireless transceiver side by side without a problem. The HDMI behaves like they said. It's capable of 1440p at 120 Hz or 4K at 60 Hz. Unfortunately, this model isn't the one with the display port, so I wasn't able to test that along with the HDMI. In testing for the last couple of weeks, the only situation I ran into once was with the Steam Deck. In SteamOS, it was saying I was connected to a slow charger. Now, this typically happens when it can't supply enough power. And this turned out to be because I had several USB devices plugged in at the same time. So I went ahead and unplugged everything and then I restarted the Steam Deck. The message went away and slowly I added all the devices back in. Then I did not receive the message again. So really, if you're going to use a handheld that has a charger that is really almost at its max capacity already, like the Steam Deck's charger is 45 watts, it doesn't give you a lot of wiggle room for adding additional peripheral devices. So just be mindful of that, especially if you're going to add external storage on the USB-C. I would recommend for the Steam Deck specifically, get a 65 watt or greater charger just to have that overhead. Now let's talk about the USB-C connector cable. First off, it seems longer than necessary. However, I think this is just to make sure of compatibility with many other devices where the charging port could be on the opposite side of the device, or this device has a really large screen and it needs that extra length to get around to the top. With the right angle on the connector, I was a little concerned about it on the Steam Deck because the angle is flush with the cable, so it makes it really only have one direction for connecting it, which makes the cable hover over the exhaust vent. Connecting it in the other direction completely blocks the power button, preventing me from sleeping or waking the device. So I was concerned that the cable might get overheated. However, the shielding on the cable is made of a TPE material and is rated to deliver up to 100 watts and can withstand temperatures up to 105 Celsius. I used a thermal camera and I only saw the cable itself around 45 to 50 Celsius here, but keep in mind that we aren't sending the max max 100 watts. The website also specifically mentions that the Nintendo Switch is not supported, but I was able to flip my Switch upside down, connect it, and have the HDMI work without issue, as well as charging, so I'm not really quite sure how it isn't compatible. Lastly, I will show you how to configure the RGB lighting. If you're using SteamOS, you can search for OpenRGB on the Discover store and then click Install. Once installed, you can find it under the deck logo on the bottom left and then under Utilities. For Windows-based devices, you can go to openrgb.org and then just click download on the center of the page. Choose the Windows version under the latest release. It will download a zip file, extract it, and then you'll need to run the OpenRGB application as administrator for the first launch. Inside the application, you can configure each side of the dock, as well as you can save these as profiles. I went ahead and assigned a red color to sections 1 and 3 and blue to sections 2 and 4. This made it so that the red was on the front and back and blue on the left and right sides of the dock. You have to apply one section at a time, or if you want one solid color, you can apply to all sections. Once you have something ready that you like, click on Save Profile so you can keep it for later, because once the dock is disconnected from power, it's going to revert back to that rainbow pattern it has by default, and you'll need to load this profile again. However, if you restart your handheld device, that's perfectly fine. It's just once it loses power that it resets those settings. In summary, I think that the dock does have quite a bit to offer, but it's also missing some features like a micro SD slot or an NVMe slot or DisplayPort, although the DisplayPort does come in the more expensive version. The overall build quality is passable, but its slim design and compact form make it a perfect travel companion. All in all, I think this is a major improvement over their earlier models like the HB0603 for the Steam Deck, and hopefully this dock will be compatible with the next few generations of handheld devices. What do you think? Are you planning to get this dock, or do you have a better option in mind? Let me know in the comments below. That's going to do it for this review of the JSAUX RGB Dock. I'll see you next time.